Hi guys, good evening. Welcome back once again to the EdWord. I'm your host Eddie, and in tonight's video I will be discussing my thoughts and reaction to the latest episode of AMC's Fear the Walking Dead, which debuted just a few moments ago. I just finished watching it. It was pretty good. It was really something. It had quite a few standout scenes, and one giant WTF moment is that deal. And before I start gushing over it, of course, and I keep talking too long and too much, please be warned that this video will be full of big spoilers regarding the most recent episode of Fear. So if you're not caught up on Fear the Walking Dead by this episode or the past couple episodes, so just be warned that I will be discussing big plot details and points, so you have been warned. And if you are caught up, please keep watching and listening, as I hope you find what I say informative and somewhat entertaining. So, that being said, good episode, very good episode. I really enjoyed it. I think some of the stuff that I enjoyed the most were, this episode, I feel like it had a bit more humor to it. Specifically, one of the highlights of this episode for me were the scenes between Strand and Daniel. They were jabbing at each other, going back and forth, and it wasn't friendly jabbing either. Well, some of it might have been friendly jabbing, but it was also genuine suspicion and distrust, and it's because these two don't really trust or like each other that much is what makes it so humorous to us, to the viewers. The tension between them, as uncomfortable as it would be in real life, is quite humorous for us, for the audience that's watching them. And they're both such great characters that you just can't help but chuckle when it's the two of them together. And that's what I got. That's what I enjoyed from this episode, was these two, spending time together. I'm pleased that they got back to the hotel, but unfortunately, it looked like it had been deserted or at least overrun with the dead, because it seemed like no one living was there. And then finally, the truth came out about Ophelia. And of course, Strand was only forced to reveal the truth when at gunpoint and being slowly surrounded by walkers. And I love how Daniel very cleverly positioned himself, where not only was he aiming the gun at Strand, but he was circling around him, because by the time he got back towards the door, the walkers were already starting to surround him and Strand. But he was closest to the door, so he got out of there, leaving Strand behind. Now, will Daniel return to the dam, or will he continue his search for Ophelia? Because he made it sound like they were on a run for the dam. Because, he kept insisting to Strand, Lola's there, everybody loves Lola, they're going to be fine. And we told her that we would be gone for only a little while or so. So they were either out on a supply run. No, they weren't out on a supply run. They went out to the hotel to look for Ophelia, and of course Strand had lied about it. So now, will Daniel go back to the dam, tell them, I left Strand behind, thanks for everything, I'm out of here? Or will he just keep on searching for Ophelia right there out in the wild? We'll see. We will see. But damn it, I really enjoyed the scenes between Strand and Daniel together. Now, whether or not they become respected allies or respected adversaries, either way works for me. I just really hope we get to see more screen time between the two of them, because they could either be an unstoppable duo, or they could be two people forced together, forced to coexist and live with each other, and they don't really like each other that much. Either scenario would be just fine for me, because I really enjoy seeing these two having screen time together. And what I also liked about this episode is that slowly but surely, Madison and her kids are working their way into the heart of the community. Alicia slept with Jake, the son of the leader, so that's a good start. Nick, was cleaning out the burned home of the couple who had died in the opening scene. By the way, tragic, beautiful yet kind of tragic and fucked up, the opening scene, where it's like, oh, she doesn't have her teeth in, that's why she can't bite him, that's why she's not able to bite him, because her teeth are out. Clever. And then he was holding that gun, and when he put the gun to his own head, I thought, well, what's the point of killing himself if he's just going to let her walk around as an as a walker? But then when he did it and the bullet went through his brain and hit hers because they were side by side, I'm like, ew, and kind of, okay. And, it was pretty tragic, but at least they went out together, so one wouldn't be without the other. And, I guess Nick was trying to find that sense of community by rebuilding this burned out home, trying to make it look presentable again, and bonding a little bit with Otto, even though obviously they have fundamental differences and viewpoints on how guns are. Otto is very much pro-gun, and every home should have a gun, where Nick's a bit more weary of it and doesn't necessarily believe that. Yet, the two still manage to bond, I think, and find a middle ground somewhere. So it'll be interesting to see how their relationship continues to develop, because it's so ironic, too, because the relationship between Madison and Troy, as we saw in this episode, is still very much rocky. There's still not quite a sense of trust there, but I think going on this mission together, just the two of them and their small unit, actually in some weird way did help them bond, or at least become closer in some strange sense. Even though, yeah, he held a knife to her throat in the middle of the night, which woke her up, she seemed pretty calm, like he wasn't going to do it. Like, she knew he didn't have the stomach to do it, or he didn't have the heart to do it. And you could tell that he was really struggling with himself, too. Now, could he have done it? Yes. But did he? No. So maybe there are different shades to this guy. Maybe he has his good days, and maybe he has his bad days. Obviously, on his bad days is when he's way more psychotic. And speaking of psychotic or crazy, at first I thought Troy may have been hallucinating when he saw a guy sitting out there in a chair on a rock with a crow at his shoulder. I thought, is Troy hallucinating this? Like, is that supposed to be his father? But nope, as we get closer, it's another guy, and he's saying some weird song or poem or whatever. And you realize the crow isn't sitting there like it's a pet on his shoulder. It's eating the back of his head, which has been partially, like, scalped or, like, peeled off almost. Oh, when I realized it, my face was like, when it was doing that. I'm like, oh, sick. And he's still he's like talking like this while the crow is eating away at his brain. That was messed up. That was like almost as something as nasty as you would see on The Walking Dead. And I love that Fear the Walking Dead is finally starting to do more edgy shit like this. So keep those kind of scenes up, keep them coming. And then we're introduced to our new characters, or not necessarily our new characters, but our potential new bad guys. And I say bad guys because it sounds like they may not be entirely in the wrong here. And, it kind of makes sense that Native American citizens would see the apocalypse as almost as like a restart, or a fresh beginning, so to speak, where they should and could take back the land that was taken from them. So they've got some pretty legitimate grievances. But obviously, when you have an entire safe zone, an entire refugee camp on a ranch on that land, that's when it's going to draw conflict and problems. So, this isn't some strange new group that nobody was unfamiliar with. Troy obviously recognized him. He called him Walker. Funny name to have in a show like Fear the Walking Dead. But he obviously knew this guy, so these people are not unknown to the Otto family and probably to the Brokejaw Ranch. But now this will only escalate the tension and the problem that's going to be between these two groups. Hell, we don't even know how many men or how many people this Walker guy has. We don't know how big his community is or where they are, but I'm sure we'll see them in due time. But overall, good episode. I did not think Alicia was going to kill herself. For a split second, I thought so, but then I thought, no, she's not suicidal or completely desperate. And it made sense when she threw herself off the rock. I'm like, she's going to jump into something, like a pile of hay or maybe a lake or something. And she did. And she left because I think she wanted to feel something again, that sensation of being alive, without resorting to violence to feel that way or something. I think she was trying to figure out what Jake was telling her throughout the whole episode, is that there's still hope and beauty in the world, you just gotta know where to find it. And in this case, for her, it was jumping in a lake. Very healthy, and I think it applies very much to what he was talking about, so good for her. And, a lot of our characters, a couple of our characters had their fates thrown up in the air at the end of this episode. We saw Strand on his own, and I wasn't worried about him because he's too cool of a character to kill off, at least this early in the game. He's on his own. Daniel left him. Now, will Daniel return to the dam or continue his search for Ophelia? That remains to be seen. Obviously, I think Madison and Troy and their company will make it back to the ranch, but now they're going to tell everybody, hey guys, we have a new problem now. And then another problem, will Nick go after Luciana or will he remain with his family? You know, he's really going to be torn, I think, in the next few episodes, unless somehow Luciana ends up back at the ranch. You know, he's going to be torn. Do I go after my girlfriend or do I stay with my family? You know, he's going to have this struggle within him, and I wonder which direction it could take him in. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me for my episode review here on the EdWord. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Fear as much as I did. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel as we continue to follow along this series. And it's the third season with new episodes premiering every Sunday night on AMC. Also, check out my Facebook page in the description down below. I think you'll like what you see. Have a great rest of the night, everybody. I hope you had a nice long weekend and you get off to a good start tomorrow morning. And thanks again for stopping by. Have a good one. And of course, until next time, may the Force be with you.